basins, where emeralds roam free.
In the jungle room the vines hang deep, breeze and raindrops as the emerald boa slither. Face to face they draw their guests in close, their calm invites us to come hither. Every corner built for curious mind, a jungle playground nature design. Build them homes, let instincts flow. Babies born, tiny lives begin to grow.
Greetings. I actually get choked up every time I watch that little intro video that my daughter and I made. Every little scene in that video, it just touches me. Well, thank you guys for coming to the Happy Basins podcast here on the Untamed and Unhinged Reptile podcast YouTube channel. We're going to have Mark Anderson on with us tonight. Mark's running just a little bit behind, and he is going to be here as soon as he can. And hi, Dickie. Hello. Thank you for coming here tonight. We are just going to chat away about some things going on here in our Happy Basins jungle until Mark is able to log on. And I'm not going to tell you guys about Mark until he comes on, because I want to introduce him in front of him so that he can hear his own amazingness. He really is a spectacular contributor to the reptile community, and we're looking forward to chatting with him. So I have so much going on here. I don't know if you guys have been seeing my posts. I've been making some posts with no explanation because sometimes I just take a picture and I want to post a picture, but it takes a long time to actually write a post. So a couple hashtags is pretty much what's going to get the picture out there. And unfortunately, I'm just so comfortable with Facebook that I don't post enough on Instagram and YouTube, but I try my best to keep up with those two to some degree. But on my Facebook page is where I just, like I said, I'm comfortable. I just constantly post stuff. But I do have right now, I keep looking over there, 3 beautiful northern emerald tree boas together. And the reason they're together is because, well, first of all, they're in a over 60 cubic foot space with, if you have ever seen Happy Basins content, then you know that every bit of the space is filled with vines. So the emeralds have, hello, cat, plenty of space to slither around in there. And the male is extremely active, going back and forth between the females. And they are just a real sight to see, just gorgeous creatures. We've really been enjoying having the northern emerald tree boas. They are actually different in a lot of ways than the basins. And it's not just, first we didn't know because 2 of them that I have were wild caught animals that we ended up with here at Happy Basins. And then our very good friends, Jesse and Jeremy Moore in North Carolina, sent us a beautiful patternless male emerald. Hi, Gabriel. So that he could come here and spread his genes to the 2 females that we have. And that's when we discovered that the northerns are just different all around, not just because they were, the 2 that we had were wild caught. They move different. There's just seems to be something more in their eyes. We've definitely fallen in love with them. Larry actually said the other day that if he had to choose, he would prefer the northerns. There is something really spectacular about those animals. And then if you guys have seen the 2 that I have mating right now, I haven't said much about them, but my Asmoa and Ningishsida have been completely stuck together like glue for probably about 10 days now. Maybe not quite, maybe 8 days or so. And the reason that they started off like that is because we were doing some of you might remember, a mojo stimulation exercise in our rain chamber for our friend Ron Rundo's Agador that he brought over here, a beautiful dark phase emerald, a basin emerald tree boa. And we really wanted Agador to get to spread his genes here. So we were doing different things. And one of the things that we did was we put 2 females and 3 males in the rain chamber all together to see if we could get Agador, rolling. And it ended up stimulating Azzy and Ninji to start mating, and they've been together since. So that's the 2 that you keep seeing me post if you watch the Facebook. Hello, Morelia. So good to see you. Hello, everybody. I just love having you guys here. If you're just now getting caught up, then I'll tell you again that Mark is running a bit late. So we just wanted to start on time, and we're just going to chat until he joins us. So I was just talking about the different Facebook posts I've made with the 3 northerns together in one enclosure and the mating pair. I've been posting pictures of those things with no explanation, just a picture. Well, hopefully he'll be with us sooner than later. We'll see. Until then, we'll just. Oh yeah, I see Chris just posted on there that he got a hole in his leg. That is the top news story right now. Chris, can I tell as much of the story as I know? The basketball competition and stuff? Well, he said he had a hole in his leg. So yes, he said yes. Chris, as far as I know, this is just the information I know, was playing in a basketball tournament, and his team, I assume, won the tournament. And the other team, who were clearly sore losers and wannabe gangster kids, decided to pull out a gun. I don't know how many guns. I don't know anything like that. But all I know is that someone shot a gun and it hit Chris smack in the middle of the back of his calf of his leg. He actually sent me a picture of the wound, and I normally can't look at bloody stuff, and I didn't zoom in or anything. It was hard for me to look at. I did hold it a little far away so I couldn't see it real clear, but it was right in the middle of his calf, and it's not a small hole. And I did want to ask Chris what the caliber was, because and did they have to get the bullet out of you? There were a lot of questions I had, but I didn't want to be rude and ask. But since he brought it up, inquiring minds want to know. Oh, yeah, he's not going to be walking normal on that leg for quite some time. And hi, Tony. And Tony's going to have to. Well, actually, Tony was napping just now, and I understand why. She's probably had to run around catering to Chris because he probably can't walk and is going to be limping on that leg for some time to come because it looked like it went right into the muscle. Yeah, a numpty. I don't know what a numpty is, so I'm assuming it's, I mean, I can take from context what a little whiny baby wimp is what I would think of. But Morella is not from the States and is probably a word more local specific. Yeah. Chris, you should get on and tell us about it. He doesn't know either. A British slang. I figured it was a British slang. But from context, we can take it. They were a bunch of numpties. Chris, if you do want to tell us the story, we would love to hear it. And since that's all I know about it, and I know more about what's going on here at Happy Basins, I'll tell you guys more about this stuff until Chris decides to come on and give us the whole lowdown, which we all want to know. Not right now. He's not feeling it, which I can completely understand because you guys didn't see it. If I just thought about pulling the picture on my phone and putting it to the camera, but I'm not going to do that. That's what it looks like. You don't want to see it. Yes, family friendly. Well, Morelia, even if you did say something else, we might not understand the slang, but the context tells us everything. This isn't a private chat. That's right. It's not. Well, you guys, I showed Chris and Tony before we started the show. I did get a new pair of shoes. I saw somebody post them on Facebook and I went and looked for them and I found them. They had them on Amazon for, they were like $13. But look, they're variegated Monstera and they're actually super comfortable. And I've been using them as my house shoes because I don't like to go barefoot because I hit my toes on stuff. And plus, I don't like walking up and down the stairs with slippery stuff on my feet like socks. So these are perfect and they're squishy and they feel good. They're not actually Crocs, but they are Croc style. But they're not like real Crocs. But you could see they're super smushy. So maybe you might have them on your British Amazon. Yeah, and the funny thing about Crocs is I'm from Tucson, Arizona. I'm from the Southwest, and Crocs are just not something that I ever saw, but now I live in Arkansas, and in Arkansas, Crocs are like the thing, and people wear them. Professional people wear Crocs here. It's everywhere. And I actually never imagined myself having Crocs. This is definitely the closest thing I've ever had, but it's variegated Monstera, which are my favorite plants here in my jungle room. So I saw them on one of my plant groups on Facebook, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then I saw how much they were, and definitely had to have a pair. Thanks, Morelia. I appreciate that. Yes, thank you, Tony. They really are. They're cute and comfortable, and definitely just go into Amazon and type in Monstera shoes. That's what I typed in, and they came right up. And they have like different styles and colors. Yes, it's a plant, so it's a must. I've not put plants in the baby enclosures yet. If some of you guys saw our baby closure condos, but I do have an idea of the plants I'm going to use. I actually ran into a problem. Some of you might remember me mentioning that my aquarium lights that keep my plants alive. Yes, Kat, you need some tarantula shoes. That would really be awesome. That would like the 3D. You know how they make really cool 3D stuff, like your picture that Chris put together with our bios, like that spider on them. That would be amazing. The plant problem that I'm having, ball python shoes. I'm getting a ball python next Tuesday. I never thought I would have another ball python, but hi, Scissor G, but one's coming. As far as the excuse me, the plants, is that my aquarium lights do a fabulous job growing the plants inside of the enclosures. But if I turn them up higher than like 15%, the animals don't shed properly. And the lights don't get hot and the humidity doesn't change, but it's happened twice now. I've experimented with different levels. And the 2 times that I made it a little higher, the first time was at 60%, and then I went down to 10%, and everything was fine for like 2 years. And so I recently tried it up to 30%, and I'm talking about my fluval grow lights in these enclosures. Just at 30% made a difference in our sheds. So now I've got them down to 15%, and I'm struggling with my plants in the enclosures. So, finding the right plants that can live under those lights has been troublesome, but I think I found the right one. I could show you the plant, but I can't tell you exactly what it's called. Hey, looky there. It's Mark Anderson.
How's it going? So sorry, I'm hopping on late.
That's all right. We're glad you're here. What is that on your shirt?
Oh, it's the Show Me Reptile, one of the jersey things that
Oh,
I got.
very nice.
Yeah, sorry, I
All
thought it was
right.
5 o'clock my time, and so time difference thing. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
yes, that's okay. We're glad that you made it. I hope it's a fine time, okay for you.
Oh yeah, it's totally good.
All right, fabulous. Well, you guys, here we have Mark Anderson. And I didn't tell you guys yet, but Mark is known in the reptile world as What a Horse. And yes, you heard me right, What a Horse. And we're going to ask Mark about that. But first, I want to tell you guys, Mark has an extreme passion for sharing exotic animals to his community through schools and parties and other events in order to bring curiosity and a spark of love for reptiles to the next generation. Mark, we're super, super glad that you were here to join us tonight.
Yay, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited. And I love what you do. I love your whole room and everything. It's amazing. Your rain chamber. I was like, that's brilliant. I got to do one of those.
Yeah, the rain chambers are a really big deal. We attribute a lot of greatness to that rain chamber. We're frozen for a second, but we'll be back in just a second. No, he doesn't. Mark, the first thing everybody wants to know is your start to What a Horse. How did that come about?
Uh, so it was like a high school thing, I guess. It was just like water horse, but it was water horse. And yeah, it just kind of just stuck since to like, high school. It was weird. So I just kept the name. And then I did it on Instagram and it allowed me to do it. So I just kept that name throughout the years. But yeah, and then it's my email too, but that's essentially it. I guess it's just Instagram and my email that I do that name. And then everything else is just Mark Anderson.
I see. Well, the first time I read it, it made me hungry.
Right?
We don't have a Whataburger here, but we used to have one where I lived in Texas, and it was always my favorite fast food place.
Oh, that's awesome. I don't think I've ever had it. I got to try it.
Yeah.
I'm on the West Coast, so we don't have anything here like that.
Yeah, we didn't have that in Tucson. I'm from Tucson.
Oh, are you? Nice. Yeah, I'm currently in Oregon right now, but I'm from California down in San Diego. And that's kind of what got me into the animals. I just grew up next to the San Diego Zoo and SeaWorld and all that, so I was able to just see all these crazy cool animals up close all the time.
And you always just wished you could get your hands on them?
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up and my dad was a vet when I was growing up, and then he did a lot of stuff with like farm animals and that kind of stuff, so I'd always be around that. And I think at one point he was even doing stuff with like sheep or goat blood or something. I don't know what it was, but I remember just being in like herds of sheep all over, and it was like as white as far as you could see. It was crazy. It was really cool. But yeah, I had like tegus growing up and ball pythons, and I lived next to a national park, so I would always catch like wild rattlesnakes and gopher snakes and everything like that, and it was really cool.
When you were out there as a child catching rattlesnakes, what did your mother think of that?
She would make me sit in the back of the truck and drive me out to release them. And I'd be like, hey, look at this. And I grew up watching Steve Irwin. He was a really great role model, everybody knows. But yeah, some of the stuff with like free handling snakes and stuff like that, I was like kind of picked up on that too. And so I'd be like, hey, check this out and everything. And now I don't do it so much. But yeah, she would make me sit in the back of the truck, and then I'd put the snake in a container, and then we'd just go let it go. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. She'd get really mad at me, but I did it anyways.
Yeah, and she took you to do that. That's amazing because a lot of moms wouldn't have gone that far.
No, not at all. And I had her on this Mother's Day for a Mother's Day podcast. It was pretty awesome. She explained all of that stuff growing up. It was
Oh,
pretty
I
funny.
bet that was special.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, she really supported the animal dream, and she still does a lot. So I owe everything to her.
Amazing. Did she ever fall in love with one of the animals that you had?
Jojo, my son's Argentine and black and white tegu. She really likes that one a lot. And then Ringo, my rhinoceros iguana. That was the first reptile I got at a reptile show, and he's doing great. And I think I found him a mate, so hopefully we'll have some eggs in the next few years here, which will be great.
Wow, how long have you had him?
I think it's going on 6.5 years, 6 years,
Oh,
right
nice.
around there. Yeah, I got him as a little baby from Triple L Reptiles. He was super cute.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I grew up down in Oceanside, so Triple L was like my local pet store, and everybody just thinks of it as this big, huge thing. And I'm like, it was just right there down the street, on the beach.
Are you
So
at the Reptile Expo this weekend?
No, I was not. I went to a Redmond one that we had in Oregon, but it was put on by a different vendor, not Show Me Reptiles, and I went to that one. But I'm going to one in Idaho with Show Me Reptiles in like 2 or 3 weeks. I think it's July 19th and 20th in Boise. So I'm gonna cruise over there and go, yeah, check out the show and everything and help out whatever I need to do. And I think I'm gonna buy a car when I'm over there too. So
What?
I've been having that in the works. I need a gas saving car, so I think Idaho is the cheapest to buy a car. So I think I'm gonna buy a car when I'm over there too. Off subject. That's the
No, that's
Idaho
right.
plan.
Are
Go
you
to
gonna
this.
get a hybrid?
I don't know. I've been looking at like Ford Fusions and Ford Focuses, just something like that. I really want a Mini Cooper, but I was like, if I could just have a Ford, because I already have a Ford F-150. So yeah, yeah.
But
I've seen a
Ford
gas
has
station car.
hybrids.
What's that?
Does Ford have hybrids?
Oh yeah, and they have full
Oh,
electric cars and everything. I just want a little gas saving car. I drive a lot, so
yeah, once we got a hybrid, we had a all electric. We did not like that, but once we've had a hybrid, we've never gone back. It's amazing. We put gas in it like only when we make a long trip.
I'll have to try it out.
So
Maybe I'll
yes,
look for that.
yeah, yeah. That's why I asked so many questions because I wanted to shoot that point in there because we love ours.
What?
But as far as Show Me Reptiles with Steve Nelson, I actually did not relate you with Show Me Reptiles until I was researching you for the podcast.
Yeah.
And when did you start your affiliation with Show Me Reptiles and what all do you do with them?
Steve brought me on a few months ago, maybe like 3 months ago, and then we just started a whole podcast network, kind of like this one. And yeah, I just have my own podcast on there, and then I'm gonna help out with some of the Oregon shows when they come up here because it's the first shows that they have in Oregon this fall. So that's really cool. And then I'm gonna help out with those, and then
And that's in September, right?
yep, September. And then yeah, in Eugene and Medford, Oregon. And then yeah, it'll be super fun. And then I'll help them, and I don't know what the future holds, but you know,
Oh, Chris said he made the logo for the Show Me Reptiles
yes,
podcast.
yeah,
Nice.
he made it for the my podcast, the Reptile Shed podcast, and he did it so fast and so clean and elegant too. I was like, that's amazing. Thank you so
I
much.
know. Yeah, he puts together stuff. It's like, whoa, what program did you use to do that?
Right, and I'm really like illiterate when it comes to that stuff. I'll post stuff on social media, and I'm kind of getting into video editing and stuff, but it's crazy and it's hard.
It really is. I post tons of stuff on Facebook because it's just comfortable and easy. But I like get this nervous feeling when I post a video to YouTube. Like, is it good or it's not the same. Even Instagram, but Facebook is my comfort zone.
Yeah, Facebook is too. I'll post like pictures and stuff through Instagram, but yeah, I'll do a lot of stuff through Facebook. And it pays like my cell phone bill, but it doesn't, you don't make much money off it.
Off what?
Facebook,
Oh.
I guess. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to make money on any of it, but I just really, really love sharing.
Yeah, I love sharing too. And I have a really busy life, so it's always like go, go, go. And then I have so much back footage too in case I have a boring day. I'm like, oh, I got rainy day footage, as I call it, and then I'll post that. So
Nice. Yeah, that's the smart way to do it.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
Run it like a business. I mean, I've traveled around with YouTubers and I see how it is a business.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I try to treat it like that too. Even though I don't really make any money, you just go and have fun with it. And eventually
mhm.
everything will come, right?
That's right.
Nice.
That's right.
And then circle back to Steve. Me and Steve have been in the animal world for a while, and I noticed him back in, I think I started 2016 and he started like 2017 or 18 or something like that. And yeah, but I've been just watching him and he's been watching me, and then he reached out to me and brought me on to Show Me Reptiles. And I never met Mickey before, but I'm gonna meet him at the Idaho show coming up in a few weeks. And then yeah, I talked to him and stuff like that, but I've never met him in person, so
Mm.
that'll be a lot of fun. And then I've met a few of the other team members too with Show Me Reptiles, but not everybody yet. So really looking forward to all that stuff.
Steve, Chris, can you type Steve Nelson's name and Show Me Reptiles in case anybody wants to go see who we're talking about. Steve Nelson is one of my favorite people. He is so down to earth and genuine and transparent. He is just a feel good person.
Yep,
I
totally.
I love and appreciate Steve's spirit for sure.
And
How
he's
lucky
so
you are.
animated. I
Yes,
love it.
he's nonstop fun. I actually have a cousin, Shay, who he reminds me a lot of him.
Oh yeah.
Especially lately, like at the beach, he's got his shirt open and his hair back. Reminds me of my cousin Shay. And Shay's the same way, like that real down to earth, so down to earth and animated. So
That's awesome. And he's the same person in real life too. So that's what I love about it too.
exactly, yes. Yeah.
And then Mickey brought him on because he's just like that, personality. So, and it's really worked out.
Fabulous. Yeah, we love Steve Nelson.
How do
Thank
you
you,
know
Chris.
him?
Um, I guess he did like on my social media stuff before I ever met him in person. And so that's how I found out about him because he liked how I let the snakes roam and stuff. And then I traveled in last year 2024 to all the reptile expos. And I've been to the Tinley Expo 3 times now. So I don't know if I saw him anywhere besides Tinley, but I know I've seen him at Tinley at least 3 times, and he's always so super, like I said, you could just feel his great energy being
Uh-huh.
near him. And I
How
love the
is
way he yells across the room and always makes me feel really cool.
how is Tinley, by the way? I've always wanted to go to a show like that.
Well, when I asked you this weekend if you went to the reptile show, I was actually talking about the Pomona since that's what you're closest to, because that's a huge one.
Nice. I didn't go to that one.
And last year I went to that one too, and it was the biggest one. Tinley was my favorite, and now I've been back 3 times. Or no, 2 times. I'm about to go back again in October. I've been twice. I'm going and we already have our tickets for our 3rd time. And it's like a true family there. Everybody is so friendly. Some of my favorite people, Mike Stefani, Dave Kaufman, Steve Nelson. It's just like this great, great group of people that hang out there. Gary Schifano, the reason why we really, really go is that our mentor goes, and that's Steve Volk. So we just have this great group of people, and we get to have dinner with Steve and talk emeralds day and night.
That's awesome. I know
So,
Gary Shavino's into that too. All the emerald tree boas and everything. He has some
yes,
beautiful things.
yes, they're very spectacular.
And what got you into it?
Um, I had one of my journeys that I took gave me a vision of me being drawn into the jungle, and then I was just had snakes slithering all in my essence and out me, and I
Okay.
had this desire for snakes, and my husband, who'd never touched a snake in his life, agreed that I could get a pet snake if he chose it. It had to be a face that he loved, and he chose these. And it just started with one, and I don't even feel comfortable saying how many I have.
How many do you have?
As many phalanges as you have.
That's awesome. That's not a lot. And you have a beautiful room. Are they all kept in that room?
No, I have a baby room. We have 5 babies in there, and then in here I have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 in this room, in the jungle room.
Nice.
And that's including a baby and some breeding pairs. And then in the baby room, I have another breeding pair and then some upstairs in quarantine.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So to us, 20 is a real, real lot because we never in a million years imagined having that.
That is a lot.
And we
But
keep them all potty trained and do enrichment with them. And
you say potty train?
uh-huh.
What does that mean?
Well, we're actually the trained ones.
Okay.
Because in the wild, when it rains, it automatically triggers them to poop. And
Okay.
that's just a natural thing. A lot of animals that happens with to keep predators, from finding them easily.
Huh.
And so we put the animals every between 72 hours to 1 hour before feeding. We put them in the rain chamber and get their full digestion out. And as soon as you put them in the warm 90-degree water, they drop their tail and we just slip a chamber pot under them and then wash it outside and bring it in and the next one poops. So we just do it like that. So we very, very rarely have to, clean that out of one of our enclosures. We stay on top of it. And little things like that in our enrichment and our ambassador program, we don't want to lose any of that personal touch. So we have put some of our animals up for adoption and we're having a huge adoption party on August 2nd. We can't wait. Ghost is going to come and be our videographer. It's going to be an amazing thing, but you're the guest.
You said August 2nd, though. That's my birthday. That's awesome.
Well, on your birthday, we'll be having an adoption ceremony here at Happy Basins. One day you'll have to come and adopt a basin and have that be your birthday
That's
celebration.
amazing. Oh, that's so amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. Huh. And you have Great Basin, green tree. They're boas, right? Or
Yes.
python. Boas.
No,
Boas, yeah.
yes, emerald tree boas.
That's amazing. And the Great Basins are really hard to find. And aren't they some of
Yeah.
the biggest? The biggest ones? Some of the biggest?
Well, we have two different kinds of emeralds. We have the Corellius caninus, which is the northern emerald tree boa,
Okay.
comes out of the north of the Amazon River, and then the basin emerald tree boa, which comes from the south of the Amazon River. And the basins have not been allowed to be exported from any country. It was happening before the 90s, like unknowing and a little bit after the early 90s. But since then, they've done a real good crackdown. And because they were exporting them out of countries where they exist, like up north into Suriname and Guyana, where it's legal, and then exporting them as northerns. But they became privy to all that and it stopped. And it was only in 2009 that they officially became separate species. And there are just these two kinds. Northerns can still legally be exported, but basins cannot. So that's why basins are so hard to find, because you can't find a wild caught, only what's already here.
Wow. That makes sense. And they're crazy expensive.
Yes, they are. They are.
See, I'm a retic guy, and then I like my anacondas too.
Mm.
And then I like venomous animals as well. I have some venomous. I don't like everything. I mean, of course I like everything, but to keep, I don't just have venomous like, oh, this is cool,
What venomous
Um,
animals do you keep?
I have so right now it's tricky. We'll skip all that part. So I have a red spitting cobra. I
Oh, what
have
part you're gonna skip?
so I had I lived in Central Oregon for a while, and then I had a bunch of venomous animals there. And then I moved over into a county that doesn't allow them. So they had to go to a friend's house. And then I'm moving again here soon. So I can get those animals back again in my care, if that makes sense.
Yay.
Yeah, because I had a 6-foot Gaboon Viper, and she unfortunately
Oh.
passed away.
Oh.
And that was over at a friend's house. So I'm like, I just need to get my animals back because I don't have control of any of those situations, So
Yeah.
yeah, so that was the part I was gonna be like, oh yeah, but yeah, so I have red spitting cobra, and he has a mate, and hopefully she's gonna drop some eggs soon. We just got a pair of West African Gaboon Vipers in, and Mexican West Coast rattlesnakes in as well, and then Gila monsters, beaded lizards. I had a forest cobra for a long time, and then I gave it away. I'm gonna get some Chinese king cobras though. We have a Chinese shipment coming at the end of the year, like in the fall. Yeah, and there hasn't been a Chinese shipment of reptiles in a while, so we have one coming, and I'm gonna get some Chinese king cobras off there. And then Mickey is too, the show owner of Show Me Reptiles. He's gonna get some as well.
Wow, how
And
big do those get?
they get 18, 20 feet. They get pretty big.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the king cobras are the biggest.
Well, I'm so fascinated with cobras. When I initially wanted to get a snake, I wanted to get a false water cobra because it looked the most like it. And
Yeah, I
that's when
breed
my
those.
husband, yeah, it looked amazing. But my
I have a big
husband,
male. He's huge.
I can't wait to see your cobras.
Yeah, they're amazing, and the falsies are really cool too. I have the first falsie I ever hatched from an egg. I have her still, and she's amazing. She's met so many people, and she's a really great ambassador. And yeah, they'll hit up their whole body. So a real cobra can only do its neck, and a falsie can do its whole entire body. It's insane.
I
And
bet
then my
that's
male's
beautiful.
like 7.5 foot, so he can really flare out.
Wow. And you have videos of that on your Instagram? We're going to have to look that up.
Yeah, on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
Nice. Mark Anderson at What a Horse.
Yep. And the falsies are a lot of fun too. They're really feisty sometimes, but they communicate with you, especially through body hooding. And that's the thing I say with rattlesnakes too, or the cobras. Like my red spitting cobra, he doesn't spit, but he'll hood here and there, but it's just to let you know. Or the rattlesnakes don't really rattle, but if they get food, then they might rattle, be like, don't take away my food, it's pretty cute. But
Oh,
yeah, yeah. And then I noticed the neotropical rattlesnakes are usually a lot calmer than our domestic ones here, like the westerns and the easterns. Yeah,
I
those ones are
love
a lot more
learning that
clean.
kind of stuff.
It's fun. And then of course we have anti-venom for all of them too. So, and that usually gets exported from like Costa Rica and some other places, but that's the main one usually.
Well, if some people don't know that the false water cobra is venomous, it has
Mhm.
a back fang venom. So tell us about that and then tell us how you use that animal as an ambassador.
So the venom on so I'll be honest, like if I got bit by a huge adult that I have, I don't know what would happen. I'm sure it would hurt a lot. Like I'm not gonna die or anything, but I'm sure it would hurt a lot. And then the babies, the juveniles, they aren't too bad. I like especially the babies. I've been pricked by a bunch of babies before, and it nothing's really happened. I've had friends do it too. And some of them, their hands have swelled up, something like that. I don't know if that like may have hit a vein or a certain like spot, and then it swelled up that way. Um, or they were just allergic. I don't know. I have also taken a nibble from my Gila monster. I had him on my arm, and I was just like kind of slow motion watch them, and I'm like, you know what? I want to know what it feels like. And it wasn't necessarily the venom that hurt; it was more like the crushing power of it. And I was like,
Mm.
wow, yeah. So I couldn't imagine like a big falsie because I don't know if you've ever had one, but they essentially just swallow their food alive if they have it. And they're like frog specialists. So they'll just go and
Mm.
they eat the food the fastest I think out of any snakes I have. They just gobble it down. And they're the ones that'll come flying out of the cage too. It's so much fun. But as far as ambassadors, yeah, I have my main one. Her name's Olive, and she's a lighter colored falsie, and I hatched her from an egg, and she grew up like my son. I have a 9-year-old son now, but he's grown up around all of these animals his whole entire life since he was born. So all the animals know him. And so he can go there and help me do a school show or a reptile show, or we've done a ducks foot or a ducks the Oregon Ducks games. We've done like animal. I brought anacondas there and stuff, and my friend brought cobras, and we were in. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, this is so cool. But yeah, my son, so they know him, so he can just have that false water cobra and go show it off to people and whatnot. And it's super socialized. And yeah, we like the animal behavior aspect of things. So we get like animals to trust people before we get the people to trust the animals, if that makes sense. So that way a complete stranger can hold them and then the animals don't freak out. Yeah. And then, we'll kind of watch your stress level or anything like that. I've done reptile shows where we're like, $10 a person, you can come interact with the anacondas, stuff like that. And yeah, each animal has its own limits and everything like that. So you just work with them accordingly.
Nice. So how did you figure out to start an ambassador? Was that to me in my mind, I just imagined it being your son, being comfortable around him and noticing that.
Right. So I guess COVID hit, right? And I had all of these animals, and I've been a chef for the last 16 years. So, of course, COVID happening, the restaurant shut down, all that stuff. And I was like, the government can tell me I can't work. I was like, this is crazy. And so we got all the stimulus checks and everything, and I invested in myself. I built like enclosures, I built like nice things, and big enclosures. I built like big enclosures. And all of that stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm super bored and I need to essentially just start my own business. And so I did that with the animals, invested into myself, and then just started doing parties through friends, different schools, just a bunch of different things. And then the animal behavior aspect of it kind of fell into it because I had a special needs German Shepherd for 14 years, and he was like fear aggressive at the same time. So I really had to watch his behavior, especially like around other people, or if a friend came up to me and was like, "Hey, what's up?" He'd be up in their face. And then once I put him down, essentially is when I got all my other animals, because I was like, I have a newborn son. I don't know what to do. Like I don't have another animal to watch or take care of. So I started getting, reptiles and fish and stuff like that. And yeah, I kind of just grew into this thing. And when that COVID thing really hit, there was a song that played, and it was like, I'm on vacation every single day because I love my occupation. I don't know if you've ever heard that song, but it played, and I was like, you know what? I don't ever want to work again. So I just started doing animals, and yeah, it just took off. And I kind of
Nice.
dabble in everything. It's like I'll do like a show, or I'll do like light breeding with the pet false water cobras I have, or yeah. And then the podcast that I have, is super fun, and it's kind of just do everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just doing all stuff in this world. In
Yeah,
this
I don't know if you have kids. You have kids?
my daughter's 32.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we have 4 kids total between me and my girlfriend. So
Wow.
yeah, and then you got to do the parent thing, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But life goes on, and just stay busy, I guess.
Yeah, it really does. That's same with me. It all happened during COVID. I was a mathematics professor. I left my job. I did so much work in that field, and I just started traveling to the jungle and learning about emerald tree boas and growing them here in my house, and it just went crazy.
That's so cool. And you went out in the jungle? Like you went down there?
Yeah, in 4.5 years, I have been to the Amazon rainforest 11 times across 5 countries, learning about emerald tree boas only.
That's
I've
amazing.
taken people on my trip. I've taken quite a few people on my trips. Some famous people, YouTube reptile famous people.
That's so awesome. Wow.
Mhm.
And what started that? What you just like, I just want to learn about the animals I have, or
Yes, it all came from the vision that I mentioned earlier. I envisioned myself in the jungle, which I had never been to the jungle, or I don't even like to go camping. When we travel, we get an Airbnb, and I have my own bedroom and bathroom, and my husband has his own space because I just like to have that. So, going camping and sleeping in the jungle for weeks, months is totally not something I would have ever imagined myself doing. But I had this vision, and so here it all is. It
that's
just
awesome.
it just progressed from there.
And what other future plans do you have?
Right now, we have a lot of babies and a lot of babies coming and breeding projects that we're working on and all growing in this house. So I took off traveling for all of 2025, and I'm not going to make any decisions until 2026. But I do find it irresistible that every time I say that and somebody says they want to take one of my trips, I go. So if people wanted to go, I would go, but I'm not going to go myself the rest of this year.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't really get vacations. I have too many animals. I can take a 2-day vacation max, I've learned. But yeah, that's okay. Eventually I'll be able to take a vacation.
Eventually you will, and you'll find somebody good that can take care of the everydayers.
Mhm. Yeah, some of my animals, like I mentioned, my rhinoceros iguana, I might have found a mate for him. He's going to a friend's place, so hopefully we can breed them. And then I have a pair of bull snakes that I sent over to him too, because they're a lot better at breeding than I am. So I'm like, can you just please breed these, and I'll share half of them with you? I always tell everybody, surround yourself with people smarter than you, and you'll do great.
Yep, I
So,
have 2 males here right now just because folks wanted them to mate here.
Yeah.
But one of them I'm not having any luck with. We have done a lot of what I've been referring to as mojo stimulation exercises. But so far, no luck.
That's all. Do you have any other reptiles besides those?
We have a little rescue farm upstairs. We have 2 sulcatas, an iguana who is, we call our love child now. We love that little thing, Jaja, and a king snake and a milk snake.
Oh, that's awesome. And they're
Yes,
just pets?
yes, they're just pets. And we also have a hamster farm
What?
that, yes, and they're farm animals, feeders, as well as my beloved pets.
Wow. Do you ever sell any to the public? I have
No.
picky anacondas and they only eat hamsters and birds, like quail.
Mm.
So I just got all my hamsters through Rodent Pro because they're like $250 for a big old hamster. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, plus she does a great job.
Yeah.
Oh, no, never mind. I'm thinking of the other one, Cold Blooded Cafe.
Oh yeah. Cold blooded. I thought you meant the snake does a good job. I'm like, oh yeah, she eats those things.
Yeah, they love hamsters. That's why we started with them, because we didn't want to mess with any problems with babies. We just wanted them to eat. We haven't even bothered with frozen defrosted. We're just been pushing the hamsters in there.
That's awesome. And is it hard to breed hamsters? Is it the
No.
same as like rats or?
Yeah, they don't smell as bad. They're a lot cleaner. If they get out, which they get out, you have to be real careful not to step on them, because they will be climbing on your feet. They're so lovey. And I have this one video. I hooked a water bottle to my shirt and I made this little sash around me, and I was just carrying the one around because every time I come out there, he's just like begging for me to pick him up. So
Oh,
I just do that, and he's just the cutest thing. They're all
that's
cute.
awesome. And do you have like do you breed it in your own house or do you have a separate little shed outside you breed them in or?
My husband built a really nice room in our garage with a big sliding glass door and a split unit air control, and it's, got a nice, easy to clean floor. And they all have full enrichment, wheels and sand baskets. And right now, I probably have close to 100 with
Yeah.
all of the litters of babies that I have. But I just feed them off.
Mhm.
Everybody gets hamsters
That's
sometimes.
awesome. That's so cool. That's brilliant. I think you're the first person I met that breeds hamsters.
Well, we learned it from our mentor breeds hamsters for babies.
Okay. That's
And
really smart.
yes, and if he has to get them started on that and he can't get them to switch to frozen defrosted, he told us that he shaves the hamster hair and rolls the frozen defrosted rat to start getting the little animal used to the rat.
That's really smart.
So
Huh.
yeah, they love hamsters.
That's crazy. And then the one thing I learned from you too is you said earlier that the snakes poop, so the predators or whatnot can't smell them. And that's so smart when it rains. I never thought about that.
And if you think about, most of our reptiles poop in the water in their water bowls.
Uh-huh. Yeah, my tegu or anything before a show or he plays with people, I'll soak him. Usually poops. Same thing with the tortoises. They always poop in the water.
Yes, but the tortoises don't matter. And I'll tell you why I said that. I can rain all my emeralds. I can rain the iguana. Everybody gets rained before we do an ambassador session here, because that way I know nobody's getting pooped on. But it doesn't matter how much those tortoises poop; they're still going to poop on the people.
That's funny. They poop a lot. Yeah, I have redfoots in with the Grand Cayman iguanas, and yeah, they eat the same diet, and there's like thousands of isopods in the substrate, so they eat all the poop because it's all vegetables, in theory, lettuce. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff in common. My iguana lives in a window. She has a big perch hanging from the ceiling with a diagonal across the window and all her vines. And then the tortoises, well, they live outside as of just the last couple months, but they have this humongous, like 8-foot by 4-foot tortoise table. We just put some flexible plexiglass around and built caves and all the stuff like I saw in the videos from their natural environment. and they never tried to get out like people say. But yes, it's filled with bugs, that whole thing, and they never come out of that space. But they eat all that poop and they keep it
Uh-huh.
real clean.
Uh-huh.
We have a misting system and all the stuff. It's a great. They're the lizard and the iguana, or the iguana and the tortoises together are fantastic mix.
Yep. And you said you have two sulcatas. Are they bigger?
No, they're I've had them for about a year and a half now, and they're about 2.5 years old.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And what
Sorry, keep going.
they're actually, they were hatched together, and the big one is probably only like this big, and then the other one's like this big.
Oh,
The
nice.
the bigger one was living in a snake rack drawer when I got her. And then the girl saw what I was doing with that one, and she said she had one from the same clutch. Could I take hers too? So that's how I ended up with two of them.
Wow. And it was a snake rack. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really sad, but they're
What?
doing fabulous. Man, they're unbelievable. They come running to you in the backyard when you go out there, and they love.
That's awesome. A snake rack. Yeah, we have a sulcata. We got dropped off. This family moved up from California and it lived in their backyard in a burrow his whole life. And it's about maybe 8 or 9 right now and maybe weighs 60 pounds. So
Wow, that's big, right?
yeah, decent.
That's like the
I
right
mean they'll
size
get up to
for that age.
300, so
Yeah.
I think the biggest one I've seen is like 220 pounds. That's a big one.
Wow.
I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I really want an Aldabra tortoise. I love tortoises.
Where are
But
those from?
the Aldabras, so they're like the same as the Galapagos. And I'm not quite sure about the laws with Galapagos. I think you can only have them in Florida or something like that without a permit. I don't know. There's crazy laws everywhere. But I
Yes.
know I can have an Aldabra tortoise, so I really want that. And then a fly river turtle, just kind of off subject, but I want to get a fly river turtle here soon. And
Do
we have an
you
Indonesia shipment coming in, so I could possibly get some off that,
and
which will be fun.
where do you have a facility?
Yes, it's like a private little thing.
And it's there in Oregon?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And
And
when
then
you said you're moving, but that facility stays where it is.
yeah, so and I'm yeah, so the facility stays where it's at, and then I have like other breeding projects going on with people, and then I need room for other stuff coming in, like the Chinese king cobras and stuff. And then I needed to be in a place that I can legally have those myself, without having somebody else to have them for me, just because that's such a dangerous thing.
But you can't keep those at your facility.
No, but at my house I can because I live a mile. So the county I live in where you can't have it, if you go a mile down the road, it's a different county, and then you could have them there. It's so crazy. I'm like literally right up the hill. I can have those. So yeah. So yeah, my private residence I can, but that's because it's in a different county, a mile up the road.
Mhm.
And then it's crazy because if you go, I live in a county called Coos Bay County, but if you actually go into the city limits, you can't have a reptile that gets over 2 feet. It's crazy. I'm like, that's insane. So you can't essentially have anything. You got a sand boa, right? Maybe if you're
Yeah,
in a
I mean,
dragon,
what would it, even my king snakes upstairs are 4 feet long.
right? Yeah. So it's insane. I was like, I can't believe they have laws like that over
And
here.
the iguana.
Yeah. Anything, any reptile that gets over 2 feet, you can't have as an adult.
That's insane.
hmm And then so I live outside the city limits. So my biggest snake is 18 feet. And I'm waiting for her to lay eggs. I don't know if she's going to or not, but we'll see.
Mhm. Can you get a license to have anything?
You can. Yeah, you can. I just haven't yet because I like doing stuff myself and I don't want the government to just, I don't know, tell me what to do or come in and, like, I don't know, bark orders at me or something. So,
Mhm.
and I work with a bunch of different entities, stuff like that. Yeah, so it all works out. But eventually I want to get like a USDA permit. I want to do mammals.
Mm.
I want a African crested porcupine. Like here, you don't need a permit for that, but I really want one. I have friends that have them, so as soon as those ones
Mm.
start breeding, I'm gonna get one. Yeah, and then other stuff too. I have a lot of fish. I breed fish. My favorite place in the world is to be underwater. So I love fish. Like Shark Week's probably my favorite holiday.
I'm a certified master diver with a certification in shark conservation, and I have worked with wild sharks.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Yeah, we're gonna get along great.
Yeah, we have so much in common. It's crazy.
And then Shark Week sometimes falls on my birthday because it's Sunday to Sunday, the last Sunday of July. So sometimes it falls on my birthday, which I get super excited about. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Sorry.
You are a nerd.
Yes. But
So you do
yeah,
scuba
so
dive?
no, I don't. I used to free dive a lot. I lived in Hawaii, so I just always go and just snorkel all the time and just free dive. And I didn't have to work when I moved there with my dad. That was part of the deal. My parents are going through a divorce, long story short, so I needed to help my dad. I was like, okay, I'll move over there because he wanted to just move as far away from my mom as possible. So I was like, okay, I'll go help. And I was like, I don't want to work though. I want to actually enjoy life and all that stuff. So I did that when I was all 21, and it was great. It was really great.
Nice.
And that really got me into fish too. I think growing up, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and then I just never took that route. More because of the schooling. I don't want to do all the schooling. I'm way
That
too
is a lot of schooling.
yeah. Yeah, I don't have the mental capacity for schooling, if that makes sense. Like I'm too
Yeah, it
intimidated.
does. It totally does.
Mhm.
Morelli is asking if you've ever had an octopus.
No, but I want one
Me
so
too.
bad. Yeah, I
I
learned a lot
follow
from the
that.
Singapore aquarium. If you look up the Singapore aquarium, they're really good at octopus research, and they put all the turf around the top of the tank and everything, so you can have open tanks with them and then be able to interact with them because they won't cross like the artificial grass. It's really cool.
Well, have you ever seen I know I follow somebody called the Octopus Teacher
Mm. I
on
think I've seen that on
Instagram.
Netflix,
Mm. Well, I
right?
think it's in Instagram too.
Nice. I
Or
haven't
I
seen
don't
it though.
know. Maybe I'm thinking of two different things, but yes, whatever the octopus thing is on Instagram, I follow it and I'm just mesmerized every time it comes up.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I live at the coast right now, and I would say I don't know, maybe 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago, we found a Pacific giant octopus in a tide pool. It was really cool. And I think I have it on my Instagram, but I took a video of the octopus and then I put my phone in the water and got it going. But it was really cool. And that was my first octopus I found at a tide pool.
Cool. Well, you're gonna
Mm.
have to bear with when we get done and I go on your Instagram and yeah, keep hearting everything.
Oh, no worries. It's fun. Yeah, when I first saw your podcast and everything, I went on all your stuff and stalked it. I was like, who is this person? It was amazing. I'm like, she has that room. It's so amazing. And like the rain chamber. And I was like a little kid in like a candy shop just
Mm,
researching. I was like, that's
thank you.
crazy. That's so amazing. And you have all the sticks on your ceiling? That's,
The vines, we go down to
yeah.
the river. We're in central Arkansas, so down by the river, it's just vines on everything. And I just say that we save the trees because those vines are like wrapped around it, and I'll cut a piece off the ground and walk around real careful not to break it and get the whole big loop. And then basically, if I can have a vision, my husband will make it a reality.
That's amazing. That's
So
kind of some of the people I'm with too. I'm like, you could just build that or you can make a cage like that. And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Okay. That's all I say is, okay, we can do it. It's crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
once
crazy.
you start doing something, you just figure out how to do it. I think for me, if I try too hard to think of exactly how it needs to be before I start, then I could get a block. But just starting it and seeing where it goes is how it works out good for us.
Nice. There's somebody, I think it was Arachnid Cat, saying I need a tarantula. I have a tarantula somebody gave me. And then I had like a breeding pair of, I had like a pair, I guess they weren't breeding, but I had a pair of Venezuelan sun tiger tarantulas, which were really cool. And then I gave them to a friend. I was like, here, you can try to breed these. I don't know how it worked out, but yeah, I've had some tarantulas here and there, but oh, so one thing with tarantulas I do, I did have quite a few tarantulas before, and if I have people or I train people to work with venomous snakes that want to, I train them with tarantulas first because if they could keep a steady hand with a tarantula and hold it and not freak out, even if it kind of bolts or whatnot, then you can go do that with a a cobra or a rattlesnake or something that's a lot more dangerous, if that makes sense. And yeah, so I like using spiders and tarantulas to help train people for venomous, especially because they're like, oh, I want to do work with this venomous or whatever. I'm like, okay, we'll do the spider. And like, oh, I don't want to do that. And it's like, you can't be picky. I just need you to be able to control your reactions and all that stuff. Because if you mess up while handling a venomous snake or something, it could be really bad. Even though we have anti-venom, it could still be extremely bad. So,
Yeah, Kat likes that. She said she approves.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true because that's the whole thing about is people's reaction. How are they going to respond?
Uh-huh. And usually you got to let the animal respond first and then, go with it. So, but if the person freaks out or freezes or something, the animal could escape or, anything.
I got to chat with Tom Crutchfield a couple days ago on this podcast, and he is a huge advocate for that. However you feel is how the animal's going to
Oh,
feel.
that's awesome. I got to watch that episode. Yeah, I just had my son on for his birthday a few podcasts ago on my channel, and Tom wished him a happy birthday. It was really cool. I had it in the videos. I was like,
Nice.
thanks. Yeah, that's
Oh,
really cool. I like Tom. It's a shame what's happening to Stacy, but
well, she was there too, and she looked fabulous. She looked really beautiful and sounded great. I know anybody would always, appear to feel better than they actually feel. We just do that in general, but overall, she looked great.
yay! That's awesome. Yeah, I hope they get a full recovery and figure it all out.
Yes. I got to meet them last year at their farm. So I did actually get to go to the old farm and meet all the animals and get some up close time with both of them. It was amazing. So it was
That's
really cool to get
amazing.
to see them again here.
How are the croc monitors? That's like a definitely a dream species I personally want. I've worked with a lot of them, but I've never had one myself.
Tom, I took a video I posted on my Facebook of Tom feeding one of Bill, one of his crocodile monitors, and he was just taking those bloody rats out of the bucket and holding it in his hand and leaving his hand right there, right next to the rat. And Bill would come and take the rat so gently as to not touch um Tom's hand at all, and just totally knew the difference between Tom's rat-filled blood gut hand and that rat that was there. They are so gentle. He claims that they are the most of his experience, the most intelligent reptile out there.
That's amazing. Another place I want to go to is Iguana Land. Have you ever been there?
No, I haven't, but I do follow Ty on here, and I know he's got a lot of Tom's animals while Tom reestablishes his space.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really want to go there. I think that'd be cool. But that's so
Yeah,
cool. You got to do all that.
yeah, I really got lucky. I took Dave Kaufman on one of my trips. He attended my Suriname adventure. He wanted to
Nice.
find emeralds in the wild, and we ended up finding anacondas at camp. And he got to meet my exporter friends, and he was making his boa movie. And
Awesome.
so after that trip, I got more involved with the reptile community. And that's when I traveled around with him to different expos, and he took me over there to Tom's house.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I'm jelly.
I
That's
know. I'm
awesome.
jelly. I'm jelly of my last year. It was so fun. No, I have super exciting things coming this year, and it was tiring, man. I don't know how those guys do it. And now you're one of those guys traveling to all those reptile expos. Some of them are doing more than 10 a year.
Yeah, that's crazy. Especially if they're vending it. I'm not even gonna vend it. I just go to network essentially. I don't even. I don't. I got. I think my rhinoceros iguana from a reptile expo. But then other than that, that's about it. I get everything behind the scenes. I'm like, what do you have at home? Or I don't want anything on the table. Like, what do you have personally? And trading's always a good thing too. My false water cobras that I had, I think I traded those more than I sold them.
Mm.
And yeah, everybody wants falsies, and they're kind of expensive. Like I know I was selling them for 500 or 350 to friends, but I mean they go for like 550 or more. So That's crazy.
Mhm.
Crazy. But yeah, trading, you could just get way better things trading, you know. I'll be like, here's 5 baby false water cobras for, whatever.
The
Okay.
reason I initially wanted the false water cobra is because I saw all the stuff like on social media that you were talking about, how they eat like that, people would have a plate of food and the false water cobra got to choose the different food and they would, just really be interactive. So that was my dream. And then I ended up with these emeralds because that's the face my husband loved so much. And I treated these emeralds exactly like I wanted to treat that false water cobra. So it was really hard on me in the beginning because the emerald tree boa guys didn't like that.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, when I started doing my like I socialize my venomous snakes, and like by that I'll take the snake hook, right? And most people use a snake hook and they'll touch it with like the metal part, and then hold the handle, but I flip it around because my scent's on that handle and everything, and it's rubber just in case they do bite it. Um but yeah, so I'll go and then flip it around and then I pet them, with the snake stick essentially, and go along their body and stuff like that, and then it kind of just gets them used to me and my presence essentially. And so I can walk up to the glass, or if I need to change water, they're not aggro or angry, or the rattlesnakes are rattling. I've had people come over and try to get my rattlesnakes all angry and put their foot in front of their face and wiggle it or something, and they just sit there and chill. And it's really nice to see, all that hard work and just years of little tricks and trying new things, pay off, because a lot of people in the venomous community hated me for that. They're like, leave the snake alone, or, you're stressing it out, or anything. And I'm like, well, I'm just gonna try this or do this. It seems fine. And I'm like, I watch you guys all free handle or have a gaboon viper on your chest or something. I'm like, you guys are the crazy ones. Insane. Yeah. Yeah. And then, I also like I quit drinking when I got the animals, and um, you just have certain protocols in place when you have venomous. And like if you do drink for a special occasion or something, I don't ever play with animals. Or the next day, if you don't play with animals either because you're hungover and off your game or whatnot. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. I actually have a friend of mine who lives in Canada who's got a beautiful collection and a fairly new collection, and he has changed his life off of substance abuse because he has those precious animals to care for, and it's been such a real true therapy for him.
Yeah, therapy is a huge thing, especially with these animals. You know, it's like suicide. It's not really like a lot of people think about or care about until it's too late. And so I've always like advocated for that. I'm like, come over if you're depressed or not feeling whatever, because you'll hold an anaconda and not think about anything else in the world except what you're doing in that moment in time. And yeah, it's a crazy feeling. But or any special needs, um people or kids, that's a huge thing too, I've noticed. And they'll come over and animals change their life, or kids are more active or social, and the parents are like, I've never seen him act like this or talk or anything. It's crazy. And then they end up getting a snake or a lizard, or and it gets them into the hobby, which is pretty cool.
Do you know who Shira Loa is with snake therapy?
Uh-uh.
Well, she is a friend of mine who we've hung out together before, and she came on the podcast. But that's her whole thing is she works with just everything that you just got done saying. That's her whole mission is working with people for snake therapy, and she has testimonies like all that you just said.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a
So
huge thing.
it's a real thing.
Hmm.
What did Arachnid Cat said? A quote: "You were depressed, so instead of ending it, you got 18 animals that need you here."
Right.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes we are just missing that element of needing to be needed, and it feels so good to nurture something, especially, it's easy to nurture something that's gonna be at your feet, loving you
Uh-huh.
nonstop. Like dogs are so easy, but it does feel a little special to develop relationships with these animals that are claimed to not have the ability to return that. But we all know different.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then another part why I socialize especially like the venomous snakes and stuff too. Not only just so they're not stressed out if they're around me or whatnot, but there's a lot of people that get dry bites, and so these animals can choose to inject the venom or not into you, you know? And that's why they say baby snakes are more dangerous because they just inject you with venom and you don't usually, you know, like you'll never get a dry bite essentially. And so with an adult animal, you can. And I was like, I've never been bitten or close or anything, but I was like, the chances are, you know, eventually you're going to get bit or something, but hopefully it'll be a dry bite, you know? And I've read so many articles or talked to people and like, yeah, I got bit by my gaboon viper or something and just like nothing happened, or a rattlesnake and nothing happened. I'm like, that's insane. And so hopefully, like with the animals, like they'll just be, you know, not envenomate me if I get bit. But that's like a small hope, but it's still like one of those things that's, you know, let's hopefully it goes that way if it does happen or something, you know. But
Yeah. Actually, that's it. An interesting topic is what would we do? Because I think about that too. You know, I've never had one of my snakes try to bite anybody, but what if they did?
mhm.
And let's have that conversation. But first, let's take a really quick break. So don't go anywhere, Mark. Don't go anywhere, everybody. And Chris is going to play the amazing sponsor video that he's put together.
Let's
So
do it.
we're
Lights come on, pulse in the air, we unite. Cold-blooded got 5 feet in the night. Cold-blooded caffeine, fueling the fight. Reptile crew got our backs tight. Thank you for keeping us all. CMB reptiles rolling with soul. Hold no soul, lifting our goal. Together we burn like burning coal. Elevate more fries in the show. Irresistible pythons letting it flow. Rhetoric crew, yeah, but watch them go. Indigo, reptile coast set the glow. Shut up feeders, we shut out fears. Under the rock with cold-blooded hitters. Ship your reptiles, make life better. South Bay reptiles through every weather. Blue Pong, Shaman, Blue Tongue Republic. Arc adventures, riding Republic. No fakes, no breaks, we're here to publish. Taking it higher, dreams embellished. Sponsors love through beats, we rise. Show it dice met under the skies. Unite the world, reptile ties. Cold blood, warm hearts, no disguise.
Wow, what an amazing job, you guys. Someone said earlier that Chris is so talented, and he really is.
That was crazy.
I know, it was like you wanted to watch it.
I did. I was really into it, and then it ended. Yes.
Nice. Chris, when we finish today, are you able to play my thing so that Mark can see it instead of the other one? If you can, but if you can't, no problem.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
Yeah, I love it. It's amazing. Or you could just play it right now.
Yeah, play it right now.
Let's see if he can. I could play it right now, he says. All right. I'm so
Perfect.
proud.
Welcome to Happy Basins, where emeralds roam free.
In the jungle room the vines hang deep, breeze and raindrops as the emerald boa slither. Face to face they draw their guest in close. Their calm invites us to come hither. Every corner built for curious mind, a jungle playground, nature design. Build them homes, let instincts flow. Babies born, tiny lives begin to grow.
That was amazing. Was that
Thank
a
you.
hammock?
Yes. I have a hammock in here, and there are cameras everywhere. And then I sleep in here while the emeralds roam free all around me. And I video their interaction because they always come down to check me out.
No way. You sleep in there?
And for my adoption party on your birthday, the people are going to be sleeping in here. That's part of the adoption, is that you have to. I have this whole little thing since I can, you know. But you have to come here and sleep in the jungle room to adopt one of our babies so that you can really feel what these animals deserve. And that way I already know they're going to homes who want to give them that type of enrichment, but to really come here and feel the full effect is very important to me.
Oh my gosh, I want to come there and sleep with them. What? That's
Hot Springs,
awesome.
Arkansas, you're always invited, and you guys know you're all invited. I
That's
I love having people experience that.
so. Is this you just sleep with them every night?
No,
Oh,
it has
okay.
to be prepared. We're doing a once I let them out, I like to leave them out for a week or even more.
Okay.
Um, Now that I have so many males who are sexually mature, I have to be a lot more careful at nighttime because they do fight. So I do have to intervene, and I hate locking one up, but I do have one that causes a lot of ruckus. I could have multiple males out with no problem, but put Bella out there and everything's a muck. So, and if I lock him up, he literally bangs on the door, rattles it. So they really changed a lot once they got older. But
That's
we're doing one on the 18th this month, and then again on August 2nd.
nice. That's so cool. Sleep with them.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Have you? So has that worked out in the past? Like when you got rid of babies and they came over and slept with them?
This is my first time.
Oh, this is your first time.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yep, this is our first litter it's our second litter. Our first litter had trouble and we only got one survivor. And then our second litter, we have 5 babies and we're adopting out 2 of them.
Nice. Do you ever listen to Trap Talk or anything on
Yeah.
there? Nice.
Mhm.
That's one of my favorite podcasts.
Mm. Yeah, I actually got to go to MJ's party last year.
Trap
And
Fest.
yes, I've been
Nice.
to Trap Fest and I did his podcast kind of sometime when I first started all this. And then I did a different podcast on his network recently.
That's
Not with him,
awesome.
but someone else. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, I listen to all the different podcasts. Like the Jen Black's on there and the Mike Stefani. I have a lot of monitors, so I love listening to them.
I had Mike Stefani on a couple weeks ago. He's one of my favorite people. Like I said, when I go to Tinley, there's Steve Nelson and Mike Stefani. I just a great, great, beautiful energy about both of those guys.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so jealous. I need to have you on my podcast.
Yeah. When I'm a guest on a podcast, I always come with the snakes. My husband keeps bringing me different animals and then I let him go and hold them while I'm talking.
That's awesome. Oh, I can't wait for that. We'll set something up for sure.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so we're going to talk about a thing that I get the most flack about is one of these days, one of those snakes is going to bite somebody. And to me, it's like, what's the big deal? You know, if I go to someone's house and they have a cat and that cat scratches you, that's could cause a lifelong illness. A cat scratch always gets all yucky and cat scratches are so dirty and troublesome. Snake bite, if one of these snakes, unless it bit somebody actually in the eye, is really not going to do anything major. I mean, in a few days, you won't even see the bite anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a food bite out of like I think it was a 14-foot retic, and it was in front of people. It was the last retic I was feeding of the night, and I think I was just careless. I was pulling it out, and as soon as I did the enclosure, smelt the rat hooked onto my arm, and it was just like bam, and I was like in front of people, and I had to like play it off, and like, did that snake just bite you? I'm like, yeah, no worries, it's super cool, and played it off, and every time they come back to the facility, they always bring it up, and they're like, remember that one time? It's so funny, but even that bite wasn't bad. It's when you like, you pull away and like it starts hurting, but I mean, I have bigger snakes, so when they get that big, damage can really occur. But
Mhm.
yeah. And then I have my 18-foot snake. I think it's the biggest one I have. And somebody gave me that one and she came from prehistoric pets. But yeah, she's a handful sometimes. And she'll just even just trying to get back in her enclosure or just get away from you, just her holding on to you. I'm almost like I'm gonna pass out or something, or I can't move any of my body. This is crazy. Imagine if she was trying to eat you. It'd be insane. And the record
Yeah.
is 28.6 feet for the retic. So I couldn't even imagine. Couldn't imagine.
Wow. Well, and it was a good thing that your retic struck you and didn't wrap.
Oh, she tried, but I was just
You
fought
knew
her
how to
off
handle her.
calmly. Yeah.
Hmm.
Just don't freak out in situations, essentially. So, because if
Yes,
I were to
and
rip her off, it would have been a lot worse.
yes, absolutely. Same with shark attacks. Just if you can handle it, you can get away with just puncture wounds.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I grew up in San Diego, so I used to surf a lot and everything. And yeah, a white shark is in the back of your mind all the time. I remember one of the scariest moments in my life was I had like surf PE in high school, and I was out there surfing, and essentially friends drifted like 400 yards this way, 500 yards this way. It was the last set. We're waiting to come in, and there was like a little fin that popped up in the distance, and maybe 2 minutes went by, and there is this gray thing that surfaced from below me, and it did its little blowhole, and it was a single dolphin, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember I reached out and touched its tail and everything, and I was just like, this is the craziest experience of my life. I've never felt so helpless except in the middle of the water, and my board was maybe 6.5 foot. It was kind of a short board, so I'm like waist deep in the water on the surfboard, and it was scary.
Mm,
But it was a
totally.
dolphin, and I pet it, and then I went back in. I was so scared. It's crazy.
Yeah, you are full vulnerability there.
But I do
And
want to go
dolphins
dive
are
with shark.
dangerous.
What's that?
Dolphins are dangerous.
Oh yeah, and orcas too. There's a lot of orcas down there.
Wow.
Sometimes they get crazy. Or a sea lion. I think sea lions are some of the scariest. I've been chased out of the
Mm,
water with male big old sea lions biting the back of your board and cracking it.
mm.
Mm.
Yes, all that stuff is scary. And you want to go diving with sharks. It's a dream, you said?
Yeah, like I mean, I'd go like when I lived in Hawaii, there'd be like little sharks. I never saw anything big, but um yeah, like I would just go love. I want to do some of the discovery tours down in Mexico that they do, and for Shark Week, and go book those excursions and do them.
Mm-hmm.
Like dreams. And then I want my
Yeah.
own pet sharks too. I think it'd be cool, just like little sharks, so people can come and pet them, and do like a little touch tank essentially, which would be really cool.
Yeah, that really would be cool. Do you have any fish that people can pet?
Uh, I have some Akara fish. They're blue Akaras, and you can actually pet them. They're like maybe this big, 5-6 inches, but you can go in the tank and pet them. Yeah, and then I'll have people come and they'll just pet them, and then we'll feed them. They always get treats after. But you can
I
train
mean, you
fish.
see
It's
it.
crazy.
You see it on TikTok and Instagram. You see people making videos of fish coming up and getting pet.
Uh huh. I used to have a lungfish that you could pet too. Bishar. I used to have a huge, like 26-inch Bishar fish, an ornate Bishar, and it would come
Wow.
up for food, and then you could pet it. It was crazy. Yeah, I have this little basilisk right now. And basilisk lizards aren't really, the ones that run across the water, and
Mm.
they're not really like a personal lizard, or like, they're really one of those lizards you just touch or don't touch and leave alone. But this thing, I have a train where it can just hold a cricket on a tongue. It'll come up right up to you, jump on you, and climb on you, and then go back in its cage. It's so crazy. I was like, you could just train this little lizard, and it's not even the smartest lizard on the block, and it's capable of thought and learning. And I was like, that's insane.
Yeah, we learn so much by just trying to let them be themselves.
Flower horns will go in your hand. I do have a flower horn cichlid. He's maybe half grown. I've had him for like 3 years, I'd say 2 years. And yeah, his name's Boo, and he doesn't let me pet him, but I can go up and like feed him, and he comes up to me. He isn't scared. He's cute. Lots of saltwater fish. Dog-faced puffers. That's awesome. My girlfriend wants a dog-faced puffer. We saw one at a pet shop in a few cities over from where I live, and she might get it actually. And I
Are you
used to
allowed
take
to have
care of
that
it.
in your county?
What's that?
Are you allowed to have that in your county?
Yeah, you can have that. Right. And then I used to take care of saltwater tanks for like doctors' offices and stuff. So kind of have that down. But yeah, I want some. I want some saltwater fish. My Show Me Network brother. Oh, hey. That's awesome.
Yo, yo. I saw
Yeah.
that yo times two.
He's so cool. And he's been down in the Amazon too.
Mm,
Uh-huh. I've been watching all of his videos and everything. He just had a new one that came out with I think it was Sundance Film Festival. I don't
mm.
know if it aired yet, but I got a sneak peek of it and it was amazing. I was like, great work on this video. It was so cool. It was
Nice.
all,
Where do you know?
I don't know, but it was a Sundance festival that he got it on or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a real production company.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was like,
An
great
old
job with that
school.
video. Hmm.
Nice. We'll have to check it out. Maybe yo, can you put in the name of the show so we can all go watch it when the time comes?
Hmm. And he's been killing it lately at social media. I'm like, and that takes a lot to be able to get up, post, and do all that thing. And he's on it every single day. So,
Mhm. It
so
really does. I tried to care about it, but it was just work.
mhm.
It really is work.
Yep.
So, of course, every day I dream about doing more or doing it right or making the shorts shorter and putting the right hashtags. But then in the end, I just don't post anything because I have all those expectations. So I'm trying to work harder to just do whatever I want and not think about it.
Right. I always think about that stuff. I'm like, who's gonna pick me apart about that? I have a lot of I guess I don't have a lot, but I have some haters out there and they would just
Sure.
like try to get everything. So I always think about my pictures. I'm like, okay, what can anybody say about this picture? Or what, like so yeah, I always have to make sure to post appropriate pictures, I guess,
Yep. My appropriate pictures have grown because when I first started this, I posted a picture of my beautiful snake that I just got 3 years old. So she was a nice big emerald and she was just around my neck, coiled like, crisscross. And I was looking out the window and my husband took the picture and I loved that picture so much and I posted it on Facebook. Oh my God. I deleted it in hours. I deleted it because I should not be holding that animal. And that was back in 2020. And since then, you see what I'm doing now. So I'm still careful. There's still stuff I don't post, but I'm really thankful that I found a different community so I don't have to only try to be accepted by those particulars.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big thing these days, is trying to be accepted or I don't know. I always just do my own thing. I don't have an ego, and that's another thing too. You can't have ego in this business. You gotta agree to disagree, or you gotta, like change yourself. Or if you're hearing stuff a lot about yourself, maybe you should try to, look at it essentially. Or there's been so many things I've learned from so many different people, and it's crazy. And I'm like, oh wow, yeah, you're absolutely right, or I'm gonna try that, and it works. And I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's the great thing about social media is that we get to learn all that stuff, what other people have tried and works and learned.
Hmm. And podcasts. I learned so much just listening to podcasts. And like we'll go on road trips or whatever, and it's just podcasts instead of music. Most of the time. Sometimes all music, but most of the time it's podcasts. And you learn so much. So much. It's insane.
Mhm.
Engagement, good engagement. Nice. Yes.
Yeah, one of the things I always say I would really like to normalize is that it's okay to say if that's working for you, that's awesome.
Hmm.
Because people really try to change how different people are doing things because they're not doing it the old school way.
Hmm.
And I always like to say if it weren't for the OGs, we wouldn't know how to regulate habitat so well so that we can venture off and try all of these new experiments.
Right. Right. And have all these animals to do them with too.
Yes, I'm sure that you catch a lot of slack or flack for using venomous animals as ambassadors.
Oh yeah, for sure. Totally. But at the end of the day, it's, I don't want kids to be scared of rattlesnakes or cobras and another thing too, like there's like I don't ever put like they're the stickers that people put on the cage and like danger venomous animal. I always just put a sticker that says venomous animal. And then so you don't want people to associate danger venomous. But if you could associate the word venom and cobra and rattlesnake and not be so scary, then it's cool. Cause I'm like, oh, look at this sweet rattlesnake. Her name's Eva, like she's a Mexican West Coast rattlesnake and super nice. And yeah, and then I'll people stand back. I'll bring her out if I need to, and she'll be on the floor and no rattle, no whatsoever. It's like just the nicest snake can be, just like a normal snake. Or you get a cobra out and it doesn't hood, and people are like, "Is that a cobra?" And you're like, "Yeah, it's just not hooded. It looks like a normal snake." And then people are really put off by that because they're always like, let me see the hood, let me see that. And it's like, maybe if it'll show you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like a
it's,
puffer fish. You just don't want to stress them out for no reason.
and then puff up. Yeah. And then, yeah.
When you started using the venomous animals as ambassadors, um, like how did that even, what was your first event? How did that start?
Uh, Essentially, it's just taking like nice locked enclosures, you know, to a party or like a sporting event. You know, like we did one with the Oregon Ducks team, and we brought a monocled spitting cobra. Like my friend brought some of his venomous, I brought my anacondas, and yeah, we had all the venomous on display, and people just walked through a line, was able to see him. You know, those kind of animals you don't touch unless it's like a Gila monster or a beaded lizard. You can, you know, hold them appropriately, and people can pet them. And ours are really desensitized, so they're just like a normal lizard, you know, and met hundreds of thousands of people. And yeah, it's crazy. Um, and then what else? Yeah, just, you know, showing people like, you know, you just have a little area blocked off, and then, you know, people stand around the area, and then you can just show people these animals and in a completely different light, you know. And like I said, I've had friends try to irritate them or spook them, and it doesn't work, you know. They're just like, they're not afraid of people.
And how did you start getting them that way?
Like I said before with the snake hook, like most people use the metal part of the snake hook, and nobody ever really turns the other side of the snake hook around, and that has all of your scent on it, that has, you know, like you on it, and to a snake that's everything. And so you could pet the sides of the snake, you can use that rubber part like it was a snake hook and pick up the snake, you know, and get it under, and then um grab its tail and then bring it out, you know. And it's just little things like that, and it's, you know, going into the habitat every day and changing the water, you know, like it was, you know, a non-venomous snake or a monitor you're trying to train. You just want to be in its space essentially, but you want to do it safely, you know. And so it just depends on the animal.
That was a genius idea using the
Yeah.
rubber sides for, like you said, it's rubber. So if they struck at it, it won't be so damaging to their teeth.
Yeah,
And
because if
then
a
having your
snake,
scent.
hmm and if a snake fakes or breaks a fang, it could be really bad. Um, and same thing with like feeding venomous snakes. You know, like my gaboon vipers, I have to use curved tongs or curved forceps, and then I have to feed them in a certain angle, so that way when they bite it, you know, the things go with the curve. Because I don't know if you've ever seen a gaboon viper eat, but they'll strike the thing like 3 times, and you only see it once. And you're like, you watch a slow motion video, you're like, wow, that's insane, you know. And I've had lots of friends, you know, have hurt venomous animals, and then they got to treat them every single day, and that just makes the risk of getting
Mm.
envenomated a lot worse, you know. And yeah,
Mhm.
so try to, you know, limit all the risk and everything, and just have a healthy, happy animal, and it's good. Plus, venomous snakes need stimulation like other animals, you know. And so if they're locked in a box because you're scared of them, or it's the safest thing to do, then you probably shouldn't have the animal, you know.
Yes, Tom Crutchfield's big about that too. If you can't afford this, don't have this.
hmm Yeah, and one of his quotes was like, once the keeper and the kept lose fear, the magical understanding happens. I think
Yep,
it's
that's
something
when
like
the
that.
magic begins. Yes.
Yes. And he's one of my, I like Tom Crutchfield. He's cool. I mean, you know, he's smuggled stuff in the past, all of that stuff, whatever. But I mean,
Yeah, but
we want to have
before
animals.
that, he was doing it when there were no laws.
Uh-huh.
So
And then
by the
laws get put into
time
place. Yeah.
yes, and by the time he got in trouble for doing that, he had already been doing it for so long. Like, and you just kind of just get used to getting away with things. You've been doing it since before anything was wrong with it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
he's but the cool thing is his outlook on building relationships with the animals. I didn't even know who Tom Crutchfield was. And a few years ago, he sent me this big long message about how important, kind of like what you, Morelia, and all of you guys are saying over here in the comments, I'm catching glimpses of. He said, it's you guys, to create this example for the next generation. He said, I'm getting old and I'm not going to be around long, and you're doing a great job. I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. I showed my husband, like, who is this guy? And I looked it up and it said 68,000 Facebook friends or followers. I was like, oh, who is this guy? So I looked him up more and, then got to go to his house and stuff. But yes, I just fell in love with his perspective and was so proud that I didn't quit posting my stuff on social media because people were mean about it. I kept going. And if I hadn't pushed through that, I would have never learned that somebody like Tom Crutchfield noticed look at me, I get teary eyed so easy over this kind of stuff, noticed what we're doing here. It was just incredible.
That's awesome, especially old school people too, because I've worked a lot of old school people, and they're set in their ways usually, and so it's hard for them to change. And the fact that he could change and did change is amazing, and is an advocate for it.
Advocate. Yeah.
Advocate. Yeah, it's mind blowing. That's why I respect that guy so much, and it's insane. And say what you want, but I mean, he's trying to change and do stuff for the hobby, and he wished my son a happy birthday. I was like, that's super cool, like a little upcoming reptile keeper, and I was like, that's amazing.
And I guarantee you that's what brought his attention. I mean, I feel very confident that you came to his attention because of your relationship and ambassadorship with the animals.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Oh, yeah.
he really digs that.
Yeah, we talk over the years a lot. It's nice.
Yes,
yeah.
he is a legend. And, speaking of, you guys are saying Chris is so talented, Chris this and Chris that.
Don't give him a big head.
We're going to have to, Tony, you're going to have to go to Lowe's and buy a wheelbarrow just to carry his head around after this. No, I'm just kidding. But he puts all of this together for these podcasts. He contacts the guests and gets all of this put together, and all I do is just come on here and get to chat with amazing people.
Yep.
And I just can't imagine. I never imagined having such a great time getting to do this because I didn't want to do the work. And so when I told him that sounds great, but I don't want to do any work, and he's got people like you and Tom Crutchfield and Mariah from Cold Blooded Cafe and or Mariah's from
Desiree.
Reptiles, Mariah from Reptiles and Desiree from Cold Blooded Cafe. So yeah, it's just, I feel like I've had so many legends here on this podcast after just 10 episodes. So Chris, that's all you. Thank you for all of it. It's incredible.
And he's over on the Show Me Reptile Network too, and he's on every single podcast. He's in there commenting. I'm like, don't you have a life? Don't you have something to do?
Not anymore. He can't play basketball for a while.
Oh my gosh, he kills it at everything though. I'm like, that's very impressive. And it's hard you don't meet a lot of people that work harder than you do, especially when you're in this stuff. And when you do, it's like, wow, I gotta step up a little bit or something, Yeah, like shit. I was complaining the other day. Now I'm not. Okay. It's crazy. And then one thing I've learned too is agree to disagree, and don't always burn bridges if you don't have to, I've learned that so much. It's crazy.
Yes, that is goes back to if that's what's working for you. And it's so easy. I've caught myself multiple times where I've had to go back and delete stupid crap I said on some of those forums. Getting into it, somebody will say something mean and I'll get all heated up and think, yeah. What was that word that Morelia used earlier? The British slang. You bunch of nubkers. I don't remember what the word was, but something like that. And it's easy to get tied up in that. So it looks bad. So not just burning bridges, but also just putting a bad face out there when the temptation is so strong.
I usually stay out of all the drama. Even if it's about me, I'm like, stay out of the drama. Or I'll turn comments off a post about me or something so I don't see it. And tell my friends, like, I don't want to hear about it. Or, just like, whatever it is, That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Definitely important to keep bridges open and agree to disagree, like you said.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
there's some stuff, you gotta have lines, but for the majority, yeah.
mhm. And like I have other friends who will say things, like, "Oh, that person has a really bad reputation." Or I was with somebody once walking around a reptile show, and I talked to somebody who I really admire, and the other person was like, I had to step away because I don't agree with them. And I just think, well, golly, we all have stuff we don't agree with, and we all have stuff we admire. So we just have to choose what we want to focus on.
Right? Most of the time, the people don't even know you.
Yeah, exactly. Like our hearts are and not in the place where somebody might think.
Hmm. It's crazy.
Numpkers,
No.
numpkers,
Yes.
a bunch of numpkers.
Oh my god. A new word of the day, numbkers.
Well, golly, Mark, we sure had such a great time chatting. I really appreciate everything you're doing for the community with the ambassadorship programs. It's incredible. I'm glad to be part of that group.
I know, as I say, same with you. It's beautiful what you're doing, and especially for the animals and just all of it. The room, the sleeping with the snakes, the everything you're doing and experimenting with is amazing. And keep doing it.
Well, we'll have to plan something maybe for August 2026
Okay, let's do it. I'm totally
when
down.
you have your collection all back in place and everything's where you want it, and you'll be needing to add a beautiful little basin.
There you go. That's definitely a dream animal for sure. They're beautiful.
Thank you, Mark. Is there
Okay.
anything else you wanted to tell us? I know we know you're moving your house, but any new plans with the facility?
No, maybe trim it down a little bit. That way it's easy for some people to take care of it, like volunteers if I need stuff like that, and then just see as we go. Because like with the show me reptile stuff, I don't know what I'm gonna do with all that yet. And then with the podcast as well, and I want to travel and do a bunch of stuff. So at the end of the day, I do have like I call them my lifer animals that I'll keep for the rest of my life. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the other animals too can, go to different breeding projects or, help conserve a species or go on exhibit or education with, another facility or something. But yeah, that's the thing. I work with a lot of stores down here too, and there's just keep an ego out of it essentially, and just be humble and everybody get along. There's so much high school drama everywhere. We don't need it in the reptile world anymore.
That's
You know?
right. And it's there, but it's just up to us to, like you said, handle it differently. Agree to disagree. Even
Yep.
if
And
the
don't
other
burn
person
bridges.
doesn't.
Don't burn
What?
bridges if you don't have to.
Don't burn bridges if you don't have to.
Yes.
That is an excellent thing to leave us with.
But yeah,
Mark,
that's all I
thank
got.
you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so
Thanks for
much.
having me
We really
on.
appreciate you. And we're going to say goodbye to Mark, and all of you guys stay there, and I'll be back to say goodbye to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mark.
Yep. See you backstage.
All right, you guys, I just want to say goodbye. And Mark said that he was going to be backstage. So I'm going to get back there and chat with him. And I really appreciate all of you coming, as always. Synergy and Kat, or Syzygy and Kat and Gabriel, Morelia, and a lot of people here today that I've not met yet. So it was nice to see you all here. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Chris. We appreciate you and love you. And we're all going to be thinking about the healing of your calf for sure. Well, I thought Chris was going to take us backstage because Mark said we'll see you backstage, but I don't think that's happening. So I'm still here.
Under neon lights so cold they hum, shadows of scales where whispers come. A world of emeralds and tales untold, chasing the warmth in a world so cold. Happy basins we rise and glow, charmed roses and stories, the
should know. Emerald dreams in a twilight sky. Together we thrive as the days go by. Amy speaks with a voice so kind, spreading the knowledge to ease the mind. Through winding paths, scales and